Hello there, welcome to On the Beat, the podcast that uncovers full frontal male nudity in cinema. My name is Laura. I'm just really excited about the second part of our New Year's Ross-olution. My co-host Ryan.
Oh, okay. Yes, thank you for introducing me. Matt Ross has made an interesting film.
Oh, interesting. How dare you say that word? How dare you?
Yeah.
The interesting film we're talking about today is the 2016 comedy drama Captain Fantastic.
Right, okay.
This is our second Vigo.
This will be our second Vigo.
Yay!
Yes.
Okay, well, here... Whatever. The synopsis of this film from Letterboxd is: a father living in the forests of the Pacific Northwest with his 6 young kids tries to assimilate them back into society.
He tries to assimilate them back into society?
I certainly don't think he does at all.
I think he finds himself in a bit of a bind and he starts to realize that he's on the other extreme end of the societal spectrum. That's
Absolutely.
what I feel like. I feel like he came to a realization that moderation was the optimal course of action.
I think that is the key. That probably is the key.
I think so. I think Matt Ross just remade Little Miss Sunshine, though. That's what I think.
It's an indie film. You're giving it indie film vibes, which it has.
Yes, but Laura, is it verite?
He seems to think so.
He does seem to think it is verite.
What is verite, Ryan?
Verite is a style of filmmaking that was popularized in the late 1960s, more so within independent cinema. But verite was a documentary style type of filmmaking.
Handheld, perhaps?
I think it's a little bit deeper than that, and it's a little bit more complicated.
Is that a part of it, though?
Well, it's like, how do you capture action that happens off the cuff? And usually it requires you to be relatively quite quick, and that means that you don't really have a camera on the sticks. So I would say, yes, the handheld camera does help to make something feel more verite. But I mean, I would point out films like Salesman, or even Shadows, the John Cassavetes movie, or probably more famously is the Battle of Algiers as well. I would say is like classic cinema verite.
Is it gonzo filmmaking?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think I'm the one to start that particular... We were trying to make this episode short.
Oh, right. Okay. So the tagline for this film is, he prepared them for everything except the outside world. There you go.
Not bad.
That's better.
Yeah.
That's better than the synopsis, because that does not make sense.
I would prefer, like, if the tagline bear more to, like, the actual trials and tribulations of these children. I don't feel like these kids really kind of suffer at the hands of how they've been developed as much as I think they probably should have, basis on that tagline and the basis of the telling of this story in particular.
I actually agree, because there are moments when you're watching this film, and it's, if we can kind of wrap it up maybe more succinctly than that synopsis did, but it was a father and a mother living in the woods in the Pacific Northwest with their kids, and just kind of raising them on the land, teaching them how to hunt, how to climb, how to fend for themselves, how to set bones that have broken.
Yeah, like survivalists, basically.
Survivalists, absolutely.
Self-sufficient.
For sure. And what happens is the mother, she kills herself because she was sick. And so he's kind of trying to figure out what to do now with his kids. And family gets involved in all this la-di-da. But there are moments where they get into these situations, and I'm thinking that the kids are going to freak out.
Yeah.
More than they do. They're introduced to video games that they've never seen before. And airplanes. Things like that. And I imagine they've only read about these, well, not even everything in books.
Yeah.
You'd freak out.
Yeah, you would. I kind of feel like they take the actual realization of what they've seen relatively quite calmly. But I mean, I would also I wouldn't really kind of delve too deep into that anyway, just purely off of the fact that I feel like they've been taught with such a level, like they've been taught a level of reverence, and they've certainly been taught a level of composure that I don't think kids not taught the way that he's taught these children would probably have.
They're very well-rounded.
Yeah,
They're
they
very
do.
clever and...
Yeah, but the only thing I would kind of say is that the thing that they're not really prepared for is just modern society in general, and that is just in terms of just being social beings.
Yeah.
Which is what human beings effectively are, is that they thrive on being social and being around people and interacting, and whether that be with your single senses, as it were, they're ill-equipped to just deal with people who, for the most part, have been taught the conventional way, or the way that society has kind of directed them in the direction to be learned, I suppose.
Absolutely, but it's also utilized in the film as comic relief.
Yeah.
It's never used as a learning moment necessarily. It's
No.
more just we think it's funny, or people interacting with the family think it's amusing that they don't know what Adidas are or Nike.
Yeah.
Because that's not important to, I don't know, it's really not important to anything.
I mean, to be fair, I think the fact that those moments that happen in the movie are not held in any sort of dramatic way, other than let's just make a joke of how these poor children have been brought up, I kind of feel like is a little bit of a disservice to just, I suppose, the quality of their learning. They're incredibly knowledgeable, that we found out. They are able to spout facts, but unfortunately that's kind of about as far as it goes.
Well, it's only made out to be a joke to the other people in the film, not to the audience. To the audience, we know that they're clever, they're smart, and they're well-rounded, and they're good human beings. To everyone else in the film, they're, they've had...
Yeah.
What am I trying to say? They've been abused.
I suppose so, yeah. They've been kind of entrapped in a without their own choices, basically.
Oh, let me say we already said it's another Viggo film, but Viggo Mortensen stars in this film. Also Frank Langella. Oh dear.
I mean, either way, I think Langella.
I'm not going to name all of the kids in the film, but Catherine Hahn and Steve Zahn are in this movie.
Han and Zahn.
Zahn and Hahn. Very happy to see them.
Yeah, they're always a welcome addition to any movie. We've spoken about Steve Zahn before.
Steve Zahn's fake penis
poking at his fakey balls.
White Lotus season 1.
Yeah, this is a pretty good cast, and I would say, like, obviously we're not naming all of the children. There's a lot of children.
You can look them up.
You can look them up yourself in the cast list. But yes, they're also incredibly strong.
Very talented.
Yeah, amongst these relatively quite seasoned actors.
They hold their own.
They do hold their own. I think the fact that Viggo's there, and I think Viggo is a very kind of calming presence in the film anyway.
An absolute treasure.
Yeah, so I would say that he is helping them an awful lot from ever feeling like they're drowning in a big acting soup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. We talked a little bit before, or while we were watching the movie, about how cool Viggo Mortensen is.
Yeah.
How he would just be such a nice person, I'm sure.
I think we've brought up quite a lot of what Viggo is able to do, but it is not outside the realm of possibility that he was just doing things that he probably does normally in real life in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like the way he uses knives and just his general demeanor. Like I'm assuming he's able to do a lot of the things that the survivalist was able to do in the story.
He made that garden. He cultivated that garden in the film just so he could kind of get a feel for the land. Okay. The only things he didn't really know how to do were to play bagpipes. So he learned a little bit of how to play bagpipes, and rock climbing was not his thing. He is apparently afraid of heights, or not cool with heights. Oh,
see, I'm mixing him up with Sean Bean, because Sean Bean climbed that mountain because he didn't want to get in that helicopter.
Yes.
Yeah, that was it. Okay.
Yeah, it was weird because they don't talk about how Viggo didn't like heights in Lord of the Rings. So maybe it just didn't come up.
Okay. Well, either way, he's a very good actor. So he just pretended like he had no issue with
There you go.
the heights, you see.
There you
That's
go.
what you do. That's why when we're doing a podcast I pretend that I love it.
What the hell? Matt Ross wrote this script back in 2012 and gave it to Lynette Howell Taylor, who's the producer, who also produced 28 Hotel Rooms. And she produced other things like A Star is Born and The Place Beyond the Pines, Blue Valentine, things like that. But they waited until Vigo was free to film the movie. So written in 2012, handed off to a producer, and then I think, what's it, like 4 years or so.
Well,
Anyway.
what was Vigo doing between 2012 and obviously when this film was released in 2016?
That's an excellent question.
Okay, you don't know.
I don't. Why are you asking me things I don't know the answers to?
Well, I don't know. I
have
that
so
was,
many notes, and
well,
that's
I thought
the thing
that
you
was be
asked
the
me.
thing. Well, either way, I think it's because he's a talented actor, so they book him.
As typical, I
Really
will look it
fast.
up, and I'll let you know eventually during
Okay.
the course of this episode.
Okay, perfect.
The idea of the story came from Matt Ross's own struggle with parenthood. He's got a couple of kids, and he was just kind of fiddling with the idea of different ways of how to parent. Obviously, we're living in this world full of technology now, and there's screens in everyone's faces constantly.
Right.
And luckily, we do not or will not have children, so
No,
we don't have
will
to
not.
worry about that. But I have thought about that with people who have children. How do you wrestle with reality and technology and just trying to make well-rounded human beings? It's terrifying.
You just get them an iPad and then
And just
bing bang
leave
bosh.
them to it.
Yeah, just let Siri
I don't know.
just make all your decisions for you.
This is why we have a dog, because I don't have to worry about him
No,
on the internet.
I think parenting now, and I think
scary.
certainly parenting from the early 2000s on, I think was incredibly rife with pratfalls and teething issues. I feel like we were born in, I wouldn't say the perfect time, so I don't think there is such a perfect time to be born.
That's fair.
But I feel like we grew up before the advent of, say, the internet.
Yep.
And certainly we grew up before the advent of having mobile phones.
Yes.
Which I feel like this technology, as much as it is useful, it is such a distraction. And you think about the things and the time that you spend on these devices when really you're like, well, I don't know, would you read a book? I mean, to be
I
fair,
really
yeah.
try. I probably spend an hour, like collectively,
Yeah.
on my phone a day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go to bed and spend about 5 minutes reading a book. So I've been reading Dune for maybe 6 months, and I'm about 40 pages in.
Yeah.
But damn, have I gone through my Instagram.
Are you getting yourself ready for when part 2 comes out?
Hell yeah.
Hmm.
I want to read some hard sci-fi.
Yeah, that is definitely some hard sci-fi coming right at you. But yeah, I feel like, yeah, I do feel like we were born in a pretty decent time in history. Unfortunately,
Do you think everyone
I don't.
would say that though? Anytime anyone was born, they'd go, "That was a good time." Because it had.
I would
me
say
in it.
I would say now that we're in our 30s, I do not think we were born in a good time. Because certainly, as elder millennials, as the internet has told me we are, we are also very closely in the cast shadow of the boomer generation, who feel like we do not deserve the things that they effectively got for free.
I just want to buy a house for $20,000. Is that so wrong?
Well, obviously, yeah. You fucking thief.
Just so you know, I figured out what Vigo was doing. He was in 3 films in 2014, so that's
Okay.
probably why he was busy.
Okay.
2 Faces of January, Jauja, and Far From Men. I've only seen 2 Faces of January out of that run.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen any of those movies.
That was a good film. I saw that film with my mother at the Enzian Theater in Maitland.
Great.
Just so you know where I was.
All right, okay. Well, that's what we'd refer to as perfect.
So this film starts off with a straight-up murder of a deer, which is fairly unpleasant.
Yeah. I mean, it's also, I don't know, it's also not a fantastic scene either. I don't think.
No, I don't
Yeah.
like the title card. when it pops up either.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And I am kind of still wondering, because we have just watched it, why is it called Captain Fantastic?
Oh, gosh. I never really thought about it.
That's the issue I'm having now, is I don't
Now
know
you
why
have
it's
this
called
issue?
that. Yeah, well, I thought, well, is it Captain Fantastic? Is he Captain Fantastic? Is it a reference to, say, one of the many, many, many books that are referred to in this movie? But I'm still not 100% sure why it's called Captain Fantastic.
Mortensen and director Matt Ross see the title as a commentary on Hollywood's obsession with superhero fare. Oh dear.
What? I mean, they're not wrong, but it's also kind of like that's the only reason it's called Captain Fantastic.
It's a little bit weird because they don't really talk about that in the movie at all. It's not something that comes up as an issue.
No. Right, okay. Well, then that doesn't instill me with any sense of, I don't know, admiration. That's kind of a weird one. Don't know if I'm a massive fan of that. But anyway, yeah, let's get back into the movie.
Well, you get a glimpse into their life and, kind of the homey aspects, the campfires.
It's like a survivalist commune, basically. They've built their own houses.
Yes.
They build everything by hand, and I'm assuming the only way he makes money is he makes things that he sells at the local shop.
I think, they make things they sell, and they sell their veg and things like that as well.
Yeah. But then he stumbles on, I think they're cutting the deer up, and they're like, "Where's the Bowie knife?" And it's been taken by the youngest, the one that wears what looks like a dead cat on the top of their head.
Yeah.
And that's not even a joke. But he's like that child, I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, not 100% sure, but they take the knife and then he basically walks in on a Texas chainsaw scene. It's got like loads of skulls and stuff all kind of made up around the place.
It's a classic sociopath behavior, and I'm surprised that the hut wasn't covered in human feces.
Yes, I'm surprised that the children weren't covered in human feces.
They're fairly clean. Everyone's very clean.
Yeah, they seem very sterile. And I mean, I guess if
it looks lovely. It looks like a lovely time. It looks like a place that you would book on Airbnb and hang out in the woods for a while. But the little kid really freaked me out because I just worried about the mental health of that child.
Well, the thing is, you do see the children carving on animal bones throughout the course of this film's journey. And I'm assuming, it's a survivalist kind of culture. They will be using every and all resource at their disposal.
As they should.
To obviously
they
hunt
respect
and
nature.
Make tools from, But, I mean, I don't know, maybe they called the film Captain Fantastic because of his fantastic cardigan. Maybe it was not meant to be called Captain Fantastic. Maybe it was Fantastic Cardigan.
Cardigan fantastic.
He has a fantastic cardigan.
Is it already in your shopping cart? Online?
I think it's obviously quite expensive. I have one that's very similar, but it's red. But Cardigan Fantastic is, yeah, I mean, I did quite appreciate that a fair amount.
And it looks like a nice time. They're all reading by the campfire. It seems lovely. I doubt that the fire is giving off enough light to actually read since the book is covering the light.
Yeah, but I mean,
so I'm worried about them having to squint.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really care if the kids have to squint. I mean, anything
Just saying, it's hard to read when it's dark.
I mean, anything for a fee-free education. But I would probably point out they're probably eating a lot of carrots, and as far as I'm aware, carrots make you see in the dark. So
oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, so I think that's fine.
Super cool.
But what you find out, he's got them in such a strict regimen of exercise and reading, and he's also teaching them. So they're also, they're incredibly well read, but from the books that he's obviously giving them, and from his own set of, political, socioeconomic views, he is also indoctrinating them to their effective way of life, which is what, as I kind of point out, earlier on, is that It's on the very far end of the liberalism spectrum.
Anti-capitalism.
Very anti-capitalist, very anti-Marxist. I mean, Noam Chomsky is brought up no less than 450 times.
Well, they have Noam Chomsky Day.
They have Noam Chomsky Day. Yeah, they don't. Yeah, Kris Kringle to them is Noam Chomsky, and I bet he fucking loves that. But also, you know, the way they talk and the way they kind of interact with people, and it's kind of like they even bring up like Trotsky as well. And one of the kids refers to themselves as Maoist. So certainly they're kind of, I mean, I guess in the classical sense of the word, they are very much cued into a kind of communist culture.
It makes sense for how they were, well, obviously, because they don't know anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it as a, you know, because I think communist can be a very negative term, certainly in the USA, and certainly socialism is definitely a negative term. The idea of wanting to help anybody else is very much like stabbing someone in the fucking heart if you ask them if they're going to give you a penny to help anybody else other than themselves.
Well, obviously, at its core, it's a positive thing, but it's never turned that way.
No, because
when people talk about it.
Yeah, well, we regardless of it being in the United States, which is obviously where this film is set, and certainly in the UK, it is very much capitalism all the way. It is a dog eat dog. It is how much money can you earn. You have to put your foot on the property ladder.
Well, I do love shopping and money. I'm not going to lie. It's nice.
You're just playing into the system, Laura. You're playing into the system.
I'm super capitalist.
Oh, Jesus.
Just give me.
We need to go live in the woods. But, I mean, it's not like... The thing is, I don't know. I mean, I think of socialism. I think of communism. I think of, you know... I think of Star Trek. You know what I mean? Like, I think about, like... Star Trek created an idyllic world where there was no currency. Everyone had what they needed, you know?
Yeah.
And everyone led a relatively quite placid existence.
I like that in Star Trek no one gets a headache because they cured headaches.
They did. They cured a whole lot of things. And it's funny.
Awesome.
It's funny how much you can cure when money isn't an issue. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. I think I would say that like this film begs quite a lot of interesting...
Interesting?
Yes. Interesting ideas.
Yeah. Well, the movie has to go forward. So what do we do to get these kids out of the woods?
We kill their mom.
Gotta kill their mom.
We gotta kill their mother.
How else are we gonna get out of these woods?
Yeah, we gotta. I mean, it can't just be all bagpipes and Bowie knives. There has to be set. The one thing I will say about Captain Fantastic that differs from 28 Hotel Rooms is there's actually a plot. Like, there's something that drives the film forward at the very least.
There's not. I mean, the only reason that we would compare the two is because Matt Ross wrote them both and directed them both. But this is a good movie.
Yes.
Well,
I
don't want to say 28 Hotel Rooms was bad, but if you're going to compare them both, obviously,
I was going to say this one's better.
Yeah.
This film is definitely better because it has,
this movie.
Yeah, this film is better. It's good. I don't think it's bad. I think it's better.
Well, we're going to leave that for the end, so let's...
We will.
Come on now.
All right.
Keep on talking.
Yeah, she just slapped me on the wrist like I'm a child or a
That's right.
small dog.
So our Cardigan Fantastic ends up on the phone
Fuck yeah.
with his wife's, who's passed, her father, and he tells Vigo that if he shows up at the funeral, he will have him arrested, which is the most insane thing you could say.
Also doesn't really make much sense.
It makes no sense. What are you going to have a restraining order prepped before he even arrives? Like an anticipatory restraining order?
Yes, certainly if your main concern is that he's not only going to crash the funeral, but he's going to potentially enact the actual needs and wants of the deceased from their last will and testament.
Yeah, her will says that she wants to be cremated and flushed down a toilet. And instead, they are having a funeral at a church They're not having her cremated, and they're going to put her in the ground, which
Yes.
is the opposite of what she wants, which I think is, it's really unfair for the family not to discuss her will with her husband.
I also feel like
Despite what they think about him and their lifestyle, I think that that's so...
there's a legal obligation that they would have had
I agree.
to uphold when dealing with her final wishes. But I guess it's kind of the family's on the precipice of, they've been excluded from this particular family's life for effectively the time in which they've had quite a lot of these children, and certainly the younger ones they've also had, who have never met any other members of their family and have totally grown up in this secluded commune that they've set up in Washington, when certainly everybody else seems to be located in New Mexico. So
it's been about 10 years.
I would feel as if the family would be incredibly bitter, and they would also want to hurt him in any way, shape, or form that they could, in order to, because they blame him effectively for the deterioration of their daughter's mental health, effectively.
Right.
Because all she's done, effectively, in the woods is spit children out. That's effectively what she's done. She might have been having a good time doing it.
Well, she wrote in a letter that she was having the best time.
Yes, but she also spat out 6 kids. And they also kind of say that part of the issue for her deterioration in her mental health is postpartum depression.
But that was after the first kid, so that's pretty rough.
They do not have, here's the thing, they are cut off from society. They do not have access to, say, antidepressants or any of the sort of like chemical-based psychotropic stuff that would help you when you're feeling that way.
Well, even if she had access to it, I don't think that with the way that she wanted to live her life that she would have accepted that type of medication at all.
Probably not. And like I say, these people are living very much on the fringe of what you would refer to as, say, like conventional society and conventional societal beliefs in the modern age. Sorry, so they are very much against any form of modernity. But at this point, they decide, fuck it.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the funeral anyway. And I've got a couple of lines. I think Vigo says it. He's very honest with these children.
I really do like that. I think it's really straightforward, and I think that it's very mature to speak to them as equals.
I knew of a family who lived up the road from where I used to be when I grew up, who were all homeschooled and pretty much kind of lived in the same sort of family that Vigo had, except they did have a house. They were like traveling musicians. So that's kind of how this couple met. But this also, because they'd led a relatively quite secluded existence, I remember the father of that family adopting some relatively quite extreme views and religious views. So there is also that double-edged sword.
I have some notes about homeschool kids.
Yeah, sometimes they can be a little bit strange.
Well, I think a lot of at least the people that I've met, or the kids that I met when I was younger who were homeschooled, it was tied into Christianity quite a bit and tied into religion. So not only were they not kind of up to speed with social skills as the other kids were, I don't know. I don't think it's a terrible thing at all.
No.
It's also tied to Christianity, which made it, for kids like me, it was even weirder. And I went to church as a kid. So, I knew church kids, but the homeschool church kids were on a whole other level.
So on that note, though, there is a moment where a police officer ends up on the bus.
Yes.
And he's asking about a taillight, but he's also asking, why are the kids not in school when obviously it's in the middle of the day? And they put on the facade that they are obviously a traveling group of missionaries, let's just put it that way, and they start singing at him, and they create a holy circle around him. And for whatever reason, I thought this whole part was genius, because unfortunately, this would not be uncommon, but having obviously views of, a Buddhist nature would potentially be relatively quite alarming to law enforcement.
I really liked that part. I thought it was very, very funny. I think it was just before this moment where the cop pulls the bus over.
Yeah.
Is where the kids were kind of pointing out people who were overweight and making fun of them. And Vigo says that, we don't make fun of people. And then one of the kids says, except Christians.
Yeah, I thought that was...
And immediately after that, they all pretend to be Christian and sing a hymn to this cop and scare the shit out of him. And he's like, just forget it.
Yes. There is a fantastic moment just as they're setting off on this adventure where they play Scotland the Brave in the bus, which obviously got me teared up until obviously the guitar started sounding off and it ended up being this horrible bastardized rock version of Scotland the Brave, and and immediately got a half star knocked off just for that.
Ouch.
Yeah, well,
ouch.
Poor choice, music supervisor.
There's great moments in this road trip section of the film, when they go to the grocery store and Vigo pretends to have a heart attack so that all the kids can steal all the food.
Yeah.
Called Operation Free the Food.
Well, this is also the only reason they do this is purely on the basis that one of the kids was unable to execute a sheep that was just in a field.
Correct.
She had a bow and arrow drawn. She was going to shoot it, but she, for reasons of whatever, she obviously doesn't want to kill the sheep. She decides not to do it. But at which point, I'm also kind of, I think we were also kind of at that point in the movie being like, you can't kill that sheep anyway. Like, that's thievery. Like, that sheep is owned by someone.
You've already broken one law by trespassing on a farmer's land.
Yes.
And secondly, you're going to murder one of his sheep?
Yes, you're putting yourself in a sticky situation. But
and
it's okay
trying
because
to skirt the law the whole time, obviously.
They are skirting the law,
or not skirt the law, but they're breaking the law and trying to get away with it. Over and over and over again, because fuck the man.
Yeah, you're trying to get over on the man.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a dicey way to live your life.
Well, they don't typically do that, they're just on a little road trip, so...
They are.
It makes me wonder if he actually did have money and could pay for the food, or if he's just in that mindset where,
He's a turbulent force in these children's lives, to the point where you do kind of have to question whether his decisions are the best course of action.
Well, I think that's the struggle.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think that's a deliberate action on the part of the filmmakers anyway, because obviously it is a redeeming character arc that will be seen to the end when we get to the rightful conclusion of this movie.
But we do get to hang out with Han and Zahn on this road trip. And it is quite a treat. It is a treat. So you get to see the difference between how Vigo's raised his kids versus how she's raising the kids in this kind of, regular, what we're used to, going to school and having video games and TV and all that nonsense.
So yeah, they're brought up in the society of modernity.
I love when they've got wine at the dinner table. They ask Vigo, do you want some wine? He goes, yes. And then the youngest goes, may I have some wine? He goes, oh yeah, absolutely. And Han and Zahn are just horrified by this.
Yeah.
And I love his, explanation. He goes, well, kids in Italy and France grow up drinking small amounts of wine. I don't understand what the problem is.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
And I kind of agree with him.
Yeah.
To a point. I don't have kids. I don't care. I can do whatever I want. I can give kids whiskey. I don't know if I should tell this. I knew someone who had a child... And when they were teething, he was so worried about, it's like that old trick. You put a little tiny bit of whiskey on your finger and you rub it on the kid's gums and it kind of dulls the pain and it calms them down or whatnot. And it's just literally a little bit of whiskey on your finger. You're not giving him a shot. He was so horrified that for whatever reason, the cops would show up and then take the kid from him because he put a little bit of whiskey on the kid's gums. I go, you know what? Like, we're going too far in the other direction.
It's like an old wives' thing.
It's an old wives' trick.
Yeah, no, we do.
Shut up the kids.
Yeah, we do live in an age of political correctness, which I feel like is
Everyone's so scared.
everyone is terrified of everything.
I'm not going to say what I would do because I'm not having children, but I'm just saying, calm down. Calm down, everyone.
What, to the child or just in general?
Everybody.
Oh, okay.
So you're dealing at this dinner table with Han and Zahn and Vigo and the kids, and we're kind of in this whole situation dealing with book smarts versus social skills.
Yes.
And this is what Han and Zahn are having problems with, understanding their lifestyle.
Yeah, the thing is there's a big obvious thing here where it's like they're all very incredibly well read, they're all incredibly knowledgeable, they can recite things, they can say this, that, and the other thing, but you put them into a situation where they have to converse, that's really all that they have. There's no sense of a sense of being able to of being relatable to somebody else, which is something that I think is very important that you do learn at school, which is you have to deal with other people and other people's personalities, and it's just a way of navigating through what is effectively a mirror of what will be adult life and working life, where you're having to navigate personalities and different people.
I do wish that dinner conversation had maybe expanded a bit more, because I think that was the most interesting part of the film in a way.
Yeah.
Where you do have these different kind of cultures essentially mixing together. I wanted the parents, Han and Zahn, to talk to the kids more and ask them questions. I wanted the kids to ask them questions.
Yeah.
Instead of it being, oh, they don't know, killing each other over Nikes because they were doing crack. And, oh, Nike, the god, whatever. And the kids like, are you serious? Why can't you have a discourse over that? Because they've kind of grown up in, if they have a disagreement, if they don't understand something, the family, they talk about it. And it's a very open, kind of diplomatic way of doing things, which I think is refreshing and nice. But they never really got to hash that out in any of the actual scenes with other people. They're kind of silent the whole time.
The minute they do, because Zahn and Han, their relationship, they seem relatively quite moderate. They're like straight down the middle, middle class Americans. They're two kids. They probably have pets. Like they are relatively quite set in their ways, and to them, obviously, they are. It feels a little too black and white when they start having these conversations. It's too much of Vigo's in this camp, they're in this other camp, and there's no gray area in between.
The only person that would be gray about the whole thing would be Vigo.
Yeah, because he's also dropping a lot of terms and colloquialisms that his kids have absolutely zero idea of what they are. So if he's saying something like Nikes, the kids don't know what the Nikes are. And then obviously the kids are there and they're allowed, they're able to use that to needle the children who've, the woodland children, as opposed to the suburban babies who are just like, what do you mean you don't know what they are? So he's already kind of opening the door to, I guess, this kind of a small level of ridicule. But then he also is very apparently aware that he can just get his kids at the drop of a dime to outsmart these suburban kids because of their, I guess, the thing is, like, they don't have a lack of knowledge. They're trained and they're taught in a public school system. And if anyone was to come up to me and be like, well, what's the Bill of Rights? I'd be like, I don't fucking know.
I know, I had to look it up.
And at the end of the day, I don't think anyone is genuinely expected to know or give that out at a moment's notice either. It's the same as kind of like if someone came up to me and was like, tell me about what Pythagoras is. I couldn't fucking tell you.
The theorem.
Okay, well it is called Pythagoras' theorem, Laura. I'm not going to ask you. You're fucking worse at maths than me.
Isn't it 8 squared plus b squared equals c squared or something?
Why are you asking me? I told you I don't know.
They go on their merry way. They get back in the bus and they're going to continue on the journey to the funeral of the wife and mother.
But I would say that also on the steps of this journey, and I think the most important thing that comes out of them meeting Han and Zahn is that Han and Zahn are fairly apparently aware that what they feel like he's doing to these children is abuse.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just think they're confused by the whole thing.
They feel like he's doing them a disservice.
Everyone seems to think that they're abused, which is, you know,
I mean, aren't we all?
potentially. We see Papa Vigo come out of the camper with a nice cup of tea or coffee. We never get to know. And this man is completely naked.
He is. And not only that, he is stumbling out when these old, I guess they like going out in their camper. They've saved up all their lives for this camper.
That's what my grandparents did. So it's basically like Vigo comes out of the van. My grandparents walk by.
Yeah.
And they see a naked Vigo.
He's got his American flag hat on. She's got her Levi jeans, like basically all the way up to her navel. Absolutely. And she looks a little bit like a Michelin Man roly-poly with her her Texan baby blue shirt on. And they see rabid Vigo just step outside, completely in the nutty.
In all his glory.
Just standing at the door of the Steve bus.
Incredible. Oh, yeah, the bus's name is Steve.
The bus is called Steve.
We haven't dropped that out before.
Well, the thing is, he doesn't bring it up until much, 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 much later, because they always shout, "We got to run to Steve," and it's the bus.
Yes, so. Get in the Steve. So he's standing there, completely nude, very relaxed, incredibly casual. And you can tell that this character, this father, does this all the time.
Yes.
It's just a part of their life.
Yes.
When did I bring that up? Was it the last podcast?
It was literally the last podcast.
Okay, well, good. You guys remember that story I told about I had an ex whose dad was just naked at home? I should have saved it for this one, but... You
probably should have. You ruined it. But,
my bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that happens in households, and it happens in Cardigan Fantastic. So he's standing there, and the older folks walk by, and he says, "It's just a penis."
Yeah.
Every man on this earth has one.
Yeah.
And it's great.
I mean, to be fair, that old man's probably not seen it or used it in a while.
Oh.
So.
That's a shame.
Not really.
Okay. Well, it's just there. It's super casual. You know I love a casual penis. It's just there doing its thing. So Vigo and Matt Ross had a discussion about the nudity. You know, Vigo read it in the script. This man has done it before time and time again. But this is a low-budget film. They didn't have a ton of time. You're also working with a lot of young actors, first-time actors. You're outside, you're handheld, you're kind of just running around. And time is probably quite tight. So Vigo wanted to make sure that it was worth doing, that it drove the story forward, that it made sense for the character, that it wouldn't be distracting.
Yeah.
And obviously they both decided it was important to the story. It worked in the script, it worked on the screen, so they went ahead and did it.
Okay.
There was an interview that I read with an online magazine called The Shelf, which made me laugh. I don't know. The Shelf didn't make me laugh, but the interview question did. He goes...
The Shelf.
The interviewer goes, "You were rocking a much friendlier penis than in Eastern Promises. That was an angry penis." And Vigo goes, "No, in Eastern Promises, it was a frightened penis." I love Vigo.
That's really funny.
Vigo forever.
Yeah. To be fair, in Eastern Promises, if you've not seen that movie or the scene that we're talking about, you can go back a few episodes because we definitely covered it.
That was a Christmas episode.
That was a Christmas episode, yeah.
It is an incredible... I mean, that is a top 5 full frontal scene of all full frontal scenes.
Well, it is a naked fight. But anyway, that's probably
very
as much
scary.
as
I would be a frightened penis
I would be very frightened too. If not a frightened penis, and also very shriveled one from all of the fear. It would probably then creep itself back inside of me.
Yeah, but, never to be seen again.
Never to be seen again. I mean, yes, that's very true. I mean, there's a lot of it to go inside of me. I wouldn't want that to happen anyway.
It would hurt.
It would be a bit painful, and it would have to go into my stomach. And anyway, but no, they're at the trailer park, and Vigo's the elder son, the elder son who has become the man from slaying the deer beast at the beginning of the movie, ends up meeting a girl.
Who is this girl? She's so familiar to me.
Well, if anyone who's familiar with The Boys, what you also get is a nice version of Trailer Trash Starlight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's, whoever plays Starlight in The Boys, she's in this movie. And guess who her mum is?
Who?
The My Name is Earl girl.
She's very familiar to me.
Yes, she's in a bunch of other stuff other than those. I just thought that those were at least funny. Yeah, as you might expect, she finds this young man very attractive, and he's quite, he's not particularly worldly. And I guess they have a little bit of a romantic entanglement, and his response is to very poetically, very novelistically, very much in the art of old prose, decides to ask her for her hand in marriage.
After just one kiss.
After just one steamy kiss. Yeah.
Erin Moriarty is her name, and her mother, Missy Pyle.
Yeah. Missy Pyle?
Missy Pyle.
Missy Pyle.
She is in everything.
Yeah, she's been around. So yeah, they do eventually get to the funeral.
Here's an issue. You want to hear my issue?
Yes.
They arrive at the church the night before the funeral and still end up being late. The funeral already started. You would imagine they would have been the first persons in the door, and but you have to make an entrance, right? I would have thought they would have been sitting in the front row waiting for everyone to arrive.
As common sense is my middle name, I would also say that I think the funeral would have to be in the middle of it already happening in order for them to crash it to any level of degree. Because if they're already there by the time they're there for the funeral about to start, they wouldn't have started the funeral if they were there. So
I know, it's a movie thing.
It's a movie thing, but it's also
annoying.
It's not a very verite thing, though, is it, Matt?
Ooh, ouch.
But anyway.
And it's a huge funeral for a woman who's been living in the woods for 10 years. A massive, massive funeral. You would imagine that someone who decided to leave society and leave everything she knew to go into the woods and have a bunch of babies and just live off the land wouldn't have that many friends.
It seems a little bit like
huge church.
Yeah.
Huge.
Because I think, Anne Dowd is there. She plays the mother.
Oh my gosh.
And then obviously, Langella's there as the ham-fisted, hardened, conservative man.
If I had a drink every time he rolled his eyes or just disapprovingly shook his head at Vigo, I would be hammered right now.
There'd be alcohol poisoning being told.
He's
to
only
the
in the movie for
call.
maybe 5 minutes total.
Yeah, he's not in it for particularly long. But I would say, there's nice little flourishes with Anne Dowd's character, and that she's a little bit more of a balance, which is what I kind of feel like Zan and Han are kind of meant to be, is kind of like a nice moderate balance. Because obviously you need Frank Langella to be that conservative to really face off against Vigo. Which is, for the most part, it's very kind of conventional, kind of movie storytelling, tropey sort of stuff. I mean, this is just kind of how the stories are moved forward. You need a bit of conflict.
I'm gonna take your kids.
He threatens to take his kids. But I think, because, stuff happens, blah, 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 blah. Like, there has to be some level of agreement to them, I guess, just this situation in general. Like, there's some very kind of practical ideas being thrown out there to Vigo where it's like, you need to kind of let the kids out of this bubble so that they can appropriately develop for the rest of the world. Yes, it would be lovely and idyllic and grand if the kids could do nothing but just live in the woods the rest of their lives. But there's all these little kind of narrative little narrative hints, the elder kid's being accepted into 5 Ivy League universities. Correct. Which he's going to have to go to. He has to integrate into the modern world in order for the teachings of Vigo as the father to really be put into practice. And he's obviously taught the kid quite well, who's obviously quite smart, and he's been able to appear smart enough and intelligent enough to go to these Ivy League schools without having obviously gone through the public education system. So
Pretty good essay, I would imagine.
he must have done a fantastic essay. But let's be fair here, is that Vigo does have to come to the realization that he needs to let the kids understand the other side of the coin, effectively.
That's fine. I do have the problem with the way that they've been raised and we've been seeing how they interact with each other, where they have kind of diplomatic conversations about why, and if you have a disagreement, then state your case and we will all discuss it. When they have this conversation, it's a one-sided conversation where Vigo goes, you got to stay here with your grandparents.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to do this. You guys need to get into society and etc. But that bothered me because they've always had that kind of back and forth. So why all of a sudden is it just you're making a decision? It goes against you as a character. He does kind of like a John Lithgow, Harry and the Hendersons type of thing, where he's like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Go on and get into the woods. And you know, Harry's crying.
It's a little ham-fisted. I feel like there's a lot of very difficult decisions that are made that he doesn't seemingly think through before he makes them.
He's dropping his kids off to essentially the enemy, and was he going to fuck off back to the woods? Would he stay nearby?
No.
You know, I don't understand.
There's
he just takes their clothes and just like
it gets a little messy at this point. So like they're cutting the kid's hair. He's also like shaving after he leaves. He's obviously distraught that he's leaving them. And obviously, like it's as much as I'm saying, oh, this is kind of, it's like hinted in the narrative, is that it's incredibly ham-fisted by the end of the movie.
It does kind of roll a bit fast towards the end.
Rolls way too fast. Yeah.
So I was annoyed with the whole thing where Vigo's like, I'm leaving. But then, oh, what surprise, all of the children are in the bus hiding. And then
kind of felt a little bit pointless.
It is.
Yeah.
But then they, in an incredible display, they grave rob their own mom's grave.
Yes, this is...
I kind of like it, but it's insane.
I like it because it is insane. Like, you wouldn't be able to get away with this in real life.
No.
And certainly the idea that they just kind of take this body, they burn it, and then unceremoniously, as per the woman's wishes, we're not going to disclaim that, but they do flush her ashes down the toilet.
It was in her will, but I do have to say that bones don't burn like that. So...
No,
they would have had to have crushed those bones up in order to be able to flush them down a toilet.
Yes.
And,
anyone who's ever worked in a crematorium will know.
I mean, that would have been a really fun family activity, right? Crushing up the bones of your mother.
I mean, certainly for the youngest one who's been handling animal skulls for most of their young life.
I'm sure he kept one.
I'm pretty sure he did keep one. He was the one wearing the dead fucking cat on his head.
They also all stand together and sing Sweet Child of Mine, which apparently was their mother's favorite song.
Yeah, this is also where I knocked another half star off the overall score.
Do you know this is the second film that Catherine Hahn has been in, where a family sings Sweet Child of Mine in an a cappella fashion? Do you remember what the other one was?
Then no, it's not the one I'm thinking of. Because the one I was thinking of had Paul Rudd in it, and his wife was like being propositioned by the. They were also in a kind of hippie commune.
Oh, Wanderlust. No, it's Step Brothers.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, because she's like desperate to fuck John C. Reilly in that movie, right? Yeah. I mean, she gets her wish in that movie. That's yeah. Aye, Step Brothers. Yeah, okay.
And I do want to point out that there are zero repercussions for grave robbing. It is totally fine. Nothing happens. No one ever talks about it. And the family, Langella, no one comes back to do anything about it.
No one learned anything from the antics of Burke and Hare, it seems.
Yeah.
No one learned a single thing. Just stick a microchip in those bodies, and then you can track them all the way back to Washington State, where they were obviously hiding out. It's such a wild thing, but it's also within the realms of this movie. It's fine because
I think it's lovely.
It's not very verite.
This movie had probably more endings than Return of the King. I do want to point that out.
Oh,
Did
really?
you feel that way? I feel like the movie ended several times.
The film's also a little too long. It probably, I mean, for as quick as it hastens towards the end, I do feel like there's kind of some fluff in it where it could have just been excised just a little bit and it could have been trimmed down a bit. But yeah, it doesn't. I don't think it's as pronounced as Return of the King, but
there were moments where I go, "Oh, it's over," and then they did more. You know, it's over when they're burning the mom's body. No, they have to then go to the airport and drop off the son who goes away to travel. And then it again ends when it actually ends, when they all have a house and they're living in a house and kind of that middle ground between society and living off the grid.
Yes. Well, it's like they're taking what they've learned and they're becoming, I don't know, they're becoming more moderate, I guess. Yeah. They're trying to find a balance, which is effectively what all of us are trying to do, is we're trying to find a balance between, and I guess, you know, I hate feeling like lives are like politically motivated and people get off on a sense of conflicting with others based on purely kind of political beliefs and stuff like that. But at least now they're trying better to integrate themselves into modern society.
So they did learn something after all.
They did, which is why this film is still good and not bad. It's
Perfect.
Because at least this ending makes a little bit of sense, and you know what? It puts a little bit of a smile on your face. You feel like it's actually ended the right way, effectively.
Also, Viggo's wearing an incredible tank top with this overalls combo. 5 stars.
He does look like a little bit like Wurzel Grummage. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. He looks like a relatively quite tidy scarecrow. So there is that. But I would say, yeah, I was because the way he's wearing those dungarees and stuff like that, he looks a little bit like a Chaffy Chucky.
I love the look. So.
Yeah, you do like that look just in general. But I would also kind of point out that you're kind of he looks like he's about to pull out a washboard and stuff like that. He's got that look. He looks like he's about to go fishing on the river.
He probably is.
I mean, that's probably not a lie.
So Viggo was the first choice for the lead in this film. Matt Ross said that he wanted someone that was like Harrison Ford in his 30s. Is what he said. He wants someone that's strong but vulnerable. Viggo was his only choice.
He might as well have just said, I just want someone that looks like Harrison Ford, behaves like Harrison Ford, but isn't as difficult as Harrison Ford.
And not as old.
Yes.
The Mosquito Coast came up a lot in a lot of the interviews with people kind of comparing this character to Harrison Ford from the Mosquito Coast.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I like that comparison. That movie's pretty good, that Peter Weir movie with Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
I think that film's pretty solid.
Did you remember that Viggo Mortensen and Harrison Ford were in Witness together?
Yeah, Viggo plays one of the Amish.
Yeah. He said he was very impressed at how capable of a carpenter Harrison Ford was.
Yeah, I mean, he was a carpenter before he went into acting, as far as I'm aware.
Cool.
Yeah, so Harrison Ford has definitely done this sort of thing. The thing is also, and I'm going to point this out, is that Harrison Ford was already part of the Coppola family fold.
Yes.
Anyway, so like there was gonna be some kind of level of transition for that man. It just so happens that Harrison Ford is also an excellent actor.
He's a cool dude.
And he's a cool guy who also hates Star Wars as much as I do. So
I just was reminded of a story that my mother told me. So my mom has a sister, her half sister, who was living in Vermont, and she said that one day, I don't know, she was out somewhere, but Harrison Ford drove her home, like picked her up and drove her home. And they were up there filming that, oh, what's that movie where there's like a bathtub, What Lies Beneath?
Yeah.
I
With,
think they were up
Michelle
filming
Pfeiffer.
What Lies Beneath, and he was in town. And for whatever reason, wherever she was, he drove her home.
Okay.
So that's my Harrison Ford story.
Oh, nice. There you go. Well, see, he's very helpful.
What a nice guy.
Yeah. He didn't ask him about, like, Force ghosts or anything like that, did he?
Well, no, that was so long ago.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he didn't. There wasn't such a thing as a Force ghost. Or was there?
So, okay, I have a couple more things I want to say. So, Lolita is referenced in this film. They talk about the book.
Aye.
And I do want to point out that Frank Langella is in the 1997 Adrian Lyne adaptation of Lolita, and he gets naked in that film.
He does, yeah. That's a lovely little crossover, isn't
Boom,
it?
boom, boom.
Yeah.
And all these crossovers.
That movie is fucking disgusting.
It is. Well, the story is
The
horrific.
story is horrific. But, like, that Adrian Lyne version, at least, is incredibly uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
But we will cover it in due course.
Eventually.
Yes.
Okay, so what do I have for accolades? So Viggo was nominated for Best Actor at SAG, Critics' Choice, Golden Globe, Academy Awards, and the BAFTAs. At least at the Academy Awards and BAFTAs, he lost to Casey Affleck in Manchester by the Sea for Best Actor.
What do you mean?
So Viggo was nominated for Best Actor in all these different award ceremonies, but Casey Affleck won for his role in Manchester by the Sea.
I will say Manchester by the Sea is pretty good if you like that sort of thing.
It's a sad film. I haven't seen
It's
it.
a sad movie. Casey Affleck, give it, love it or hate him. He is pretty good in that movie. I saw that film recently. I gave it 4.5.
Oh, lovely.
So I think that film is pretty good. But again, it's if you're into that sort of thing.
Okay. And Matt Ross won Un Certain Regard prize for Best Director at Cannes.
Huh. Well, good for him. Well
I think
done.
that's all he won because the film, nor he as a director, was nominated at the Academy Awards.
Okay. Well,
this.
I mean, the Academy Awards, as we have found, will celebrate people like Jane Campion, so I'm not going to put too much onus on that. What do you want me to rate first?
Go with the scene.
4 stars.
For visibility and context.
Yes. And here's for why. I think the scene is fine. Contextually, though, having it there just to fully realize that, like, he's quite comfortable being naked around his children in the woods, I think is fine. But I just don't really care that much. And also, he's doing it because he's a very much a fuck you, fuck the man sort of situation. I think he's deliberately doing it to bug out the people around him.
Yes.
To wig them out a little bit. But I'm kind of just like, I don't know. I just gave it 4 stars because I think you can see everything, and it's kind of like, it's also the context is which I'm like, it's not full stars. I'm kind of like, okay, if that's your reasoning for it, then fine.
I think for me, I'm going to go with 4 as well. And it's just because of the way that we're speaking about it now, because I think he is doing it, the character is doing it, like you said, to be shocking to the people in the trailer park. Why wasn't he doing that when they were in the woods? It would have been 5 stars if he was in the woods where they were at home, and he would have been naked as well. The youngest kid says to him during that particular scene, "Clothes on while we're eating."
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So obviously this is something that happens all the time, but you didn't show us that until they were out in public.
Yeah.
And you know that he has a sense. He grew up in society and in the modern world, so he knows that that's obviously not kosher.
No, he knows it's going to be frowned upon. He's doing
it to be shocking. Yeah. And the way that they're talking about it in the film, like, oh, of course it worked. It's meant to be there, blah, blah, blah. It certainly didn't need to be there at all.
No.
It is for shock value, and it's also for comic relief. It's not a comedy penis in the sense of like how we normally talk about it for comic relief, but it is there to be shocking. It is there to kind of, it is a distraction.
Yeah.
Despite what they thought.
The reasoning had to be clarified to an absolute T, I felt like. I felt like it just wasn't clear enough. Because certainly if you're living in the woods and you're there on your own, there would be no need for clothes within the basis of what the kid says when he's at the dinner table.
Yeah, you really probably would raise those kids not wearing clothes unless it was cold.
Yes.
But maybe that's too far on the edge for the film, and I understand that. But I think that in order to give it 5 stars, you would need to put it in more of a context.
Yeah.
And not just put it out there as, oh, silly dad is naked,
Yeah.
Put your clothes on, dad, we're eating dinner.
Yeah, pretty much.
I still love it.
Don't want to get greedy on that dick.
I'm a little bit greedy on that dick. And I'm glad that Viggo is so gracious with his nudity. He is a man of the world. He is naked in so many films, and you can't help but appreciate that. And but and I appreciate Matt Ross for always seemingly putting a penis in his feature films. Like, kudos to you, because not a lot of people do that, and I think that it's great that you can work that in there somewhere. But
I mean, he puts them in there, but the films could obviously be better.
It makes more sense in 28 Hotel Rooms.
Of course it does. He just doesn't take it far enough.
Again, he doesn't take it far enough. You're absolutely right. We need more dick. Thank you for putting it in there. Thank you for leveling the playing field. But come on, like, be dangerous. Give us more. But thank you for that. 4 stars.
Yeah, there we are.
Would you like to rate the film?
Yeah, I gave it 3.5. I think the film is pretty good up until the point where you're like, wow, how quickly you fold, like, so fast. It's just, it's a little imbalanced towards the end. And there's also a few ideas in the film that I think are clever. I just wish for a story that's basically taking a family that's on the very extreme kind of fringe of liberalism to being more moderate, I would rather saw that journey in, I guess, a little bit more of a balance, and like, just so it didn't kind of feel like it was speeding up towards the end. I felt like I needed to be cradled. Needed that character arc to be a cradling as opposed to a bulldozing.
Yeah, I feel like we were pushed off a cliff a bit.
A little bit. Yeah, Steve's handbrake was off and he just went off. He just went.
I gave it 4. I had it in my letterboxd originally when I saw it the first time. I gave it 5.
Yeah.
But that's a theater experience. You're always going to have a more intimate experience when you're in the theater. First time viewing.
You got too excited.
I saw that dick. I got really excited. I got greedy. Yeah. I got excited. But in a second viewing, watching it for the context of this podcast, I gave it 4. I really like this film. I think it's fun. I think it's really sweet. That moment at the end, in one of the endings with the oldest son and Viggo, where he's kind of telling him, giving him his life lessons in Cliff Note form. Yeah. I really thought that was so sweet and such a genuine moment between father and son. I love a father and son moment, like Call Me By Your Name. Like, father and son moments made me cry. Love them. This one didn't make me cry, but I thought it was really genuine and very heartfelt. 4 stars.
Nice. I wish I could have had a father-son moment, but there you go.
I can't have a father-son moment.
No, you can't. That's
We're both
why.
Bereft of father-son moments.
We are, yeah. And I would have been the most qualified to have one.
Wow.
Cool.
Well, goodness gracious. Thank you for participating in this New Year's Ross-olution, Ryan.
It's not like I had much of a choice.
I feel full. I feel elated. I feel energized. And I feel ready for this year. And I feel ready to see more wieners. And I feel ready to talk about them.
Perfect.
I'm thrilled.
Ecstatic.
Wonderful. Coming to you from the underneath portion of Steve, where all those kids were hiding, that I didn't really remember existed.
Huh, okay.
Where that Noam Chomsky poster was hidden, I believe.
Okay.
I have been Laura.
And I'm still Ryan.
Thank you guys, and goodbye.
Skull in the brave!